I'm a Stampin Up demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey. I go live every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time to share with you some of the things that I'm working on and some of the things going on at Stamping Up. So today is no exception. We are going to make a fun fold card. I'm warning you, it is not a Christmas card. I'm kind of done with Christmas. I've been making Christmas cards since August, and so now it's time for me to move on to other cards. Plus, most people have already gotten what they needed for their Christmas cards. So anyway, let's get started. So I'll hop on over here and let me just see if I can do that. Okay, so this is the card we're going to make today, and it is a fun fold. Isn't that great? So this was inspired by Gail Ellis. It's very similar to a card that she made, but I adapted it a little bit for the supplies that I had, and there's a reason I'm making this card, and it is twofold. The first is that the Thankful Garden or Lovely Garden Suite is now on the last chance list, and that includes the stamp set and the dies and the masks. So a little more on that later, but that's what was used. The DSP is not on sale, and it was still going to be available. It's not on the last chance list, which I was happy to see. However, we have this to use. And then the other thing is the Jolly Holly bundle. Now, I'm just going to be using the dies, two of the dies from the Jolly Holly bundle. You can see it's these rectangles. They're nested, and they make the perfect label for our card as our focal point. Now, the one thing I want to tell you about this, though, is that if you decide to purchase one or both of these, you want to get the pieces separately. Do not purchase the bundle because the bundle is not discounted. It already has a discount that is standard when it's released. You save 10% when you buy it as a bundle, but when it's on the last chance list, individually, the stamps, and in this case, the dies and the masks that go with it, which we're not using today, but it comes with these masks. You can also get these masks. They are all individually on sale for a reduced price, and if you add them up, it comes out to less than the bundle price. Okay, so basically you're saving way more than the 10% if you buy them separately. Same thing goes for the Jolly Holly. There are no masks with this one, although it does have an embossing folder, and the die goes in. It's one of those hybrid embossing folders. So when you purchase the dies, I believe that's how it comes with the embossing folder. So that's just something important to note, but definitely worth purchasing because these are great stamp sets. And just so you know, both of these stamp sets I have featured in previous product-based classes, which I've done. I do one per month. I choose a bundle, and we make 5 cards, which you get for free. The kit for free just by purchasing the bundle. And I have the tutorials for those particular classes. And if you purchase either one or both of these, I will send you the coordinating tutorial. So definitely an extra bonus there. I don't always have that to offer, but I do this time, so I'm very excited. All right, let's get to work here. So you don't want to hear all about that. So we're going to start with a piece of thick basic white cardstock, and this is cut at 6 3/4 by 4 1/4, and I've scored it at 1 and I was supposed to score it at 1 1/4, but I believe this is scored at 1 1/2. Let's go ahead and fix that. Which is a few good things. So I'm going to take out my handy dandy scoreboard, and I'll show you what I did. So see how I scored it. I know you can't really see it, but you can see I had scored it at 1 1/2. But really, I meant to score it at 1 1/4. So I apologize for that. But no problem. We fixed it, and nobody's going to know be any the wiser. So we're going to just go ahead and fold it on that 1 1/4 line. All right. Then we're going to take some of that designer series paper, and we are using 2 pieces. One is 1 inch by 4 inches, and that's going to go right here. And just going to use my Stampin' Seal. Doesn't need a lot when you're working with designer series paper. Sticks really, really well for that. And then this piece is 1.5 inches wide. And this is how Gail designed the card. And I actually think, even though it's a little out of balance by doing it this way, I think it actually pulls it into balance where it makes it more attractive to the eye, I think, by doing it this way. Okay, so then we're going to take a piece of 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 garden green, and we're going to take another piece of designer series paper, and we're going to adhere that. And then we're going to do something a little tricky. And we're also making this card in my stamp stack this week. And you'll see that we want this to be centered along here. And we want a nice strong adhesive here. And so what I'm actually going to do is, I don't usually do this, but I'm going to use my wet adhesive. And I'm going to put a thin-ish line right here on the edge of my designer series paper, because I'm going to tell you, the wet glue is the strongest glue that we have. I really feel that way, but you have to be really careful because you don't want any excess, because we don't want to seal this shut. But so if you wanted to, you could just use your regular Stampin' Seal, but I really did find for this card that I wanted to use the wet adhesive. So you can see I put a little bit down, and then I've got it on there. And you can see that none of it seeped through, thank goodness. If it did, I would just wipe it away and work at it. But there we have our mechanism for our card, which looks pretty. But now let's decorate the front. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of basic white cardstock. We're going to grab one of the big flower stamps from the stamp set, the Thankful Garden stamp set. And we're going to ink that up. We are going to stamp it down. Give it a really good stamp. Ta-da! Looks beautiful. And then we're going to cut it out. We're going to use the die from the Thankful Garden. So that's this one, this die. We're going to go ahead and lay this down. I've got a little bit of washi tape on here so that it stays. And voila, through the magic of television, here we have one already done. So then I'm going to, if you take a look at the designer series paper, you'll see that it has these flowers on it. No idea what they're called, but I like the way that they have just a little bit of that yellow. And so I'm grabbing a dark Daffodil Delight. You could also use the light Daffodil Delight. And I'm just going to I'm going to use the other end, the bullet tip. And we're just going to color along where the black lines are. And that's because when the artists draw these flowers and things, they are doing the work for us. They're telling us exactly where we want to put our extra color, where it's going to be a little bit darker, if you will. Now, if you wanted to, you could make the entire flower yellow, color the whole thing in. I'm just doing it this way because it reflects what is done on the flowers in the designer series paper. So there's not a lot. You can do a little extra. You can do less is more, whatever you want. But the idea is we have now just sort of highlighted some of the flowers so it looks like a white flower with perhaps some yellow tones in it. And then we're going to take a pair of scissors and we're just going to cut out the flower part. And the reason I'm doing that is because you could put the whole thing on the front and have it hang off, or trim off just what goes over the edge of the card, but I do like to do this with this particular stamp. And so you can see, cuts very easily. And because we've already cut it out with the die, there's only a little bit that needs to be cut. So we've got our flowers, and we're just going to put that in the background. And I do want it hanging off a little bit so that we can see it. All right, so I'm going to put but I'm making sure I'm not putting any adhesive where it's going to hang off. So as you can see, we've got that down, and That just adds to the card. And then we're going to die cut those two dies that I showed you before, the layers. And of course, I've done that already so that we don't have to. You get the idea behind that. We're going to take some garden greening and in this case, the sentiment "Thankful for You, Friend." Um, and we're going to just stamp that on here. And we're going to adhere these two together. And then we'll add it to the card front using dimensionals because we like for that to pop up a little bit. And then one last thing, because we got to have something extra on every card if we can. I'm just grabbing some dimensionals. I've got like 10 sheets up there. And I'm just going to use 2. You could use as many or as few as you want. But I'm just doing those 2. And I'm overlaying the flower and centering it right onto that piece. Okay, so there we have that. And then for our bling this time, we're going to use these gorgeous antique pearls. See, they come in 3 sizes. We've got big ones, medium ones, and small ones. And I'm going to take a big one and a medium one and put them onto the big and medium flowers in the center. So the big one, I'm going to put on the big flower right in the center. The medium one, I'm going to put it on the other flower right in the center. And then the other one, to draw my eye around the card, I'm going to use one of the little ones, and I'm just going to put it right here. And there we have it. So we've got a card with a fun fold. We're using some of that those last chance products, and I hope that this is something that inspires you to make a card like this. You can try the fun fold. I'd love to see what you make. Let me know how it goes, and if you need any help with, I didn't mention, not only do we have the last chance list, but we have free shipping on December 10th, 11th, and 12th. That is today through Friday. So not only do you save on those pieces of those bundles, as I talked about, but then you also save shipping. So it is a great, great time to shop. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Let me know. I'll try to help you if I can. And that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.